Well, the January transfer window appears to be finally kicking into gear for Rangers, and there appears to be a clear new strategy and clear new momentum behind what we are doing in January. It is no surprise that this has come after the move of Niels Koppen into the Director of Football recruitment role, as well as obviously the outstanding work of our fantastic manager, Philippe Clement. So a lot to talk about in today's video. We're going to talk obviously about Mohamed Diomande and his arrival. We're going to talk a little bit more about Jeff Tay. We're going to talk a little bit obviously about the fact that it is actually match day. It is a Saturday. It is match day. Early kickoff against St Mirren. If we win, it will take the gap between us and them down to 2 points. And we'll touch on that as well. Well, it really is quite clear that, that there is a new strategy, a new hope behind this man, Niels Clement. No, that's the manager. Combining the two of them there between Niels Koppen and Philippe Clement, there is a clear new strategy. Now, something that Rangers Review put out the other day, and definitely seems to be the case if you kind of trace the lineage of all the links and all the players that we're coming into contact with Rangers. It does seem that this is very, very true. This is what was reported. So it says the appointment of Koppen coincides with a rethink in terms of how Rangers identify talent, which, if you look at it, is something we do need to do. You're going back to the summer transfer window where the identification of talent and the purchasing of talent was not good at all, where high prices were paid for players that were not worth anywhere near what was actually asked for them or paid for them. Adding to that as well, that I don't think we really have got value for money over the last couple of windows either. So there is a real clear change in the way Rangers find players, the way they shop, the way they go, the markets they look in. This obviously has coincided with a change in the scouting system. It's gone over to a very data-driven, computer-driven, AI-driven system, put into place that has been operating at EPL clubs for an awful long time now. Obviously, coupled with that, the departure of Chief Scout John Park. So a complete change in ethos in terms of the way we find players. And, I think given the fact that a lot of players we've signed in the past have been injury prone or have failed to really live up to the pricing that we've paid for them, this is definitely good news. Scandinavia has been pinpointed as a market that is potentially ripe, and Diomande represents a first forage into that region under this regime, which I think is true. We've often talked, haven't we, about the fact that Sweden and Denmark and Norway are places where you can find some very talented footballers, but you are not paying the over-the-odds prices you'd certainly be paying for players from La Liga or the Bundesliga or certainly even the English Championship, where you are paying upwards of 10, 15, 20 million pounds for players. The lad Scott, who went from Bristol City to Bournemouth in the summer, 22 million pounds. Sunderland's Jack Clark, rumoured to be around about 25 million. Leeds paying 16 million for Joel Pirot from Swansea. So, the prices down there are equally ludicrous. And, Scandinavia does represent somewhere where you will get some bargain prices. I mean, you take, for example, the striker Alexander Lind, who's valued at about £2 million, and yet is a very prolific striker in Denmark. So, look, that is where we need to shop. The top tiers of Holland and Belgium are natural areas for exploration, which obviously we've done, with the signing of the likes of Nicholas Raskin, for example, while work will be taken in South America and the likes of Poland and Austria. All areas where players are coming through, with real talent that you can go and pay cheap prices for players and players that have got real potential and real talent. And the fact that as well, we're trying to bring in this trading model. If you can go and get young players from these markets and then flip them in 2-3 years time for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 million pounds, it represents excellent business by the club and a way of generating income revenue streams that can bring in substantial amounts of money that can allow the club to recruit in a very effective manner. And that is certainly something that Niels Koppen has been tasked with doing in his appointment. And so far, it seems that he's pretty much bang on the money with it. I mean, first of all, obviously, we talk about the arrival yesterday of Mohamed Diomande. Great job done by Rangers in announcing his arrival. Some good videos, some good stuff online. The 4 kits there. Mohamed Diomande looking resplendent in his Rangers kit. And now obviously he isn't available for today's game against St Mirren, as his international clearance has still not come through. But again, he is a player that represents excellent value. Yes, he's arrived on loan initially, but that value of 4.4 million pounds, is certainly representing value for money. A player who is described as being one of the premier players in Denmark and one of the best up and coming young players, and seems to have all the skills, all the talent in the world to go on and be extremely effective. So again, a good deal by Rangers, a player that hopefully 2-3 years down the line we are selling for 15-20 million pounds, having a fact, of course, that he's had an effective career at Rangers and helped us to do what we all want to do, which is win trophies, in particular the Scottish League, and be successful in Europe. So obviously yesterday we welcomed Diamande. Now, a move that came pretty much completely out of left field was the link to Brazilian fullback Jefte from Fluminense via Apoel Nicosia, where he is currently on loan. And as I said on the video yesterday, this comes from an extremely reliable source in Fabrizio Romano, who is often not wrong at all. And it says that the deal is in place. It's just waiting for Apoel to give the green light as he's on loan in Cyprus. And he has agreed a deal with Rangers till 2027. So the sooner we get that one over the line, the better. This lad is quick. He's a very talented fullback. He's very good going forward. He scores goals. He's got 7 goal involvements this season already, which is phenomenal from a left back. He's very talented. And again, he's 20 years old. He's not costing a lot of money. Again, he's a player who, perhaps 2-3 years down the line can be flipped, rotated for an awful lot of money. He does, of course, fit the kind of physical specimen as well that we seem to be going for in this market. He's 6 foot. He's strong. He's quick. Certainly seems to be very much what we are looking for. Diamande is also, over 6 foot. He's a big lad. He's quick. Again, it seems to be what we're looking for: athletic, tall, physical players. Now, one of the questions, obviously, around the whole Jefte deal is, if this is the case, does that therefore mean that one of the 2 left backs is on the way out? Is that the situation? And it certainly seems that that is the case. Is it Ridvan or is it Borna? Now, according to the reports that are coming out, it is a case that one of them will depart once this deal is finalized and agreed. As Philippe Clement said himself, he was not prepared to sanction the departure of any of his players until solutions were in place to replace those players. Now, Borna Barisic has been the subject of interest from Roma, and Ridvan has been the subject of interest from Galatasaray. Now, there are clearly 2 stables of thought on this whole process. Obviously, idea 1 is that Borna Barisic is out of contract in the summer, that he won't be offered a new deal, although there are rumours that he will be, which in my opinion is a huge, huge error by the club. And he is attracting interest from AS Roma. Now, if it is true there is an interest there and we can in some way extract some money from Roma to take him in January, that would represent excellent business, as that would mean that he wouldn't walk for nothing in the summer. Now, obviously, Borna could say that he's not prepared to move, that he doesn't want to go anywhere, that he obviously wants any money that comes in to come, obviously, to him and not to the club. But obviously, the club can play hardball and say, well, you know what, we're not going to pick you from now until the end of the season, and we're going to put you out and make life difficult for him. That certainly is something that could be an option. Can't see Rangers doing that, but it is something they could do. Now, by the same token, Ridvan Yilmaz, who has just recently come back into form and is playing some of the best football of his career at Rangers, is finally reaching the heights we wanted to see from him. So, is it the fact that Ridvan could be the man on the way out? Rumours are that Galatasaray are ready to pay the market value for him now. That the manager of Galatasaray has spoken to Ridvan, and it does seem a move to try and bring him in. Now, personally, my personal opinion, for what it's worth, is that if we can, it is to get rid of Borna Barisic. Borna Barisic, yes, has been a great servant for the club. No doubts about that. During the 55 season, he was one of our best players. But the last 2 seasons, Borna has been very poor. I read a comment earlier on another podcast I was watching Club at 22. Love their podcast. And someone commented that Borna Barisic is the only player that hasn't got better under this manager. And I would have been inclined to agree with that. He got absolutely slaughtered by Dumbarton's winger, for God's sake, on the previous Saturday. I mean, let's face it. If you're getting taken to the cleaners by a League Two attacker, a winger, then you've really got to sort of question, is he good enough to play for the club? He's too negative. He back passes too much. He's slowed down. For me, it makes more sense to get rid of Borna Barisic. Ridvan and Jefte would be two be brilliant to have at left back. The more quality and strength and depth you have, the better for the club. There's a saying, two dogs, one bone. Iron sharpens iron. Like if you've got two dogs fighting over the same bone, the strongest dog comes out with the bone. And, in terms of this position, you've got Ridvan and Jeff Tate fighting for that one position, fighting for that one shirt at left back. The best and the strongest player is going to come out. And if you've got someone behind you who can come in and take your place, you're going to raise your game. Realistically, if you've got Borna Barisic behind you, you're not going to worry as much because he's not of the same quality. He's not a starting quality left back. I'm sorry. I know that will upset some fans, but the guy is not up to it anymore. For me, I'd much rather keep Ridvan, at least until the end of the season. And then obviously we can review it again. But then obviously if we can bring in Jeff, that would be a situation where we do need to move one of them on. I don't think having three left backs on the squad is a good plan at all, especially as we are substantially weak in other areas. Now, people may argue that you can bring in more money for Ridvan, but you bring in some money for Borna, you also free up his wages as well. I've got no doubts that Borna is on more money per week than Ridvan is. So look, it's 6 and 2 3s. It's swings and roundabouts, isn't it? At the end of the day, like I said, personally, I'd rather keep Ridvan and get rid of Borna. I just think Ridvan is 10 times the player that Borna Barisic is this season. Now, the drive has to be to bring in a striker. Of course it does. We don't have a starting quality number 9. And before any of you get on my back about Cyril Dessers is better from the bench. He showed that in Holland. He showed that throughout his career. He's more effective when he comes off the bench. That's where he gets his goals from. So at the end of the day, yes, he has a part to play. Yes, he can contribute to this team. But from the bench, we do need to get a 9. Now, it does seem that there are moves afoot now. I was reading some reports earlier that were talking about the fact that there are moves by Rangers to try and sign a striker. No names yet, no definite links, but it's certainly something that the football board and in particular Director of Football Recruitment Niels Koppen is working on. And it's something we need to do. We need a striker. We need a clinical, person who's going to put the ball in the back of a net on a regular basis. Now, whilst Jeff T and Diamande are good starts to this window, we need to finish it off now. It's the 27th of January. We're moving towards the end of the window. Wednesday, the window closes. Obviously, come and join us for the marathon podcast on that night. We're going to go obviously over that. I'll be joined by guests throughout the night. Laura's going to come and join me for some of it as well. So look, it is a situation. We do need a striker. I think we do need a winger still. I know Jeff can play on the left wing, as can Diamande, but I do think we need an out-and-out left or right-sided midfield player as well. So look, that is where we're at. That is a situation that presents itself. We do need a striker. We have got Fabio Silva. He's not an out-and-out striker. Before anyone says we've got one, he's more a 10, more a wing forward, more a guy who can play as a false 9. He's not an out-and-out striker. Like I said, Dessers is better coming from the bench. Well, obviously today is match day. We're going to focus for a little bit now on the game against St Mirren. Now, St Mirren had, obviously, as we know, an excellent start to the season. We are going to talk about the Rangers team that I would play today shortly. So this game today, kicks off obviously at 12:30, and we will be live streaming it here on the channel. St Mirren currently sit 5th in the league. A lot of that's down to the excellent start they have. They have kind of fallen away in recent weeks. St Mirren are a team that started the season excellently and were banging form. And I think we're even third at one point behind. I think went top at one point, which is quite funny. And we're second to Celtic at one point until we beat them in one of Stephen Davis's games. Obviously, Davo, all the best to Davo. And now they sit there, we can see, in 5th place, played 22. They've won 8, drawn 5, lost 9, which is more than any of the top 8 teams, even more than Dundee. You've got to go down as far as Motherwell to find a team that's lost as many as them. They've got a -4 goal difference. They sit on 29 points, which is 2 points behind 4th place Kilmarnock and 10 points behind 3rd place Hearts. They've lost 3 of their last 5. They've only won 1 of their last 5 games. Their recent games, you look at their recent record. They lost 3-0 at home to Celtic the last time they played at home in the league. I know they won 1-0 in a very unconvincing performance against Queen of the South in the Cup. 3-0 away defeat to Aberdeen. Before that, a 1-0 home defeat against Kilmarnock. A 2-0 away defeat at Hearts. a 0-0 draw against Motherwell. Their last home win came against Ross County on the 9th of December, a 2-0 home victory. But before that, they did lose away at St Johnstone 1-0. So, as a team, they are not in the best of form. This is a game we really need to be looking at winning, a game we really need to be going out there and showing that, that we are more than capable of following on that performance against Hibernian. If we go out and play as we did on Wednesday night against Hibernian, I've got no doubt in my mind that this is a game that we can easily win and perhaps win quite comfortably in the end. There's more than enough talent on this team to put St Mirren to the sword and beat them today. Now, if you look at this is my team for today. Maybe I won't be too far away. I guess we'll get to find out about 11:15 today. So I think, pretty much in terms of the back four and the goalkeeper picks themselves. Obviously, Jack Butland in goal. Jack has been absolutely outstanding this season. By far, Scotland's player of the season and probably the best goalkeeper in Britain at this moment in time. The back four, James Tavernier starts at right back for me. Ridvan Yilmaz at left back. I think you can't put Borna Barisic in there. You've got to play Ridvan. He's banging form. He scored. He was one of the best players on the field on Wednesday night against Hibernian. Centre back, I can see Connor Goldson coming back in. I dare to suggest that John Suter would start there ahead of him. I got absolutely slaughtered for that. Some really nasty comments as well about it, and some pure idiotic comments as well. But I think Goldson and Balogun start in central defence. I thought Big Leon was absolutely phenomenal on Wednesday night. Now, Nicholas Raskin came off injured. I'm being a bit precautionary here. He is away from home. I'm going to go with Dujon Sterling and John Lundstrom in front of the back four. I thought Dujon was absolutely outstanding second half in that game at Hibernian. And John Lundstrom was, for me, one of them, probably either between him and Ridvan as to who the man of the match was. Three behind the striker. I'd go with McCausland out wide right, Matondo out wide left, because we really are lacking options out there. Other than Scott Wright, there is realistically no one else to fill those positions. I would start Tom Lawrence in the 10 role. Tom Lawrence came in at half-time against Hibs, looked pretty decent in that second half. He's got an eye for a pass. He's got an eye for a shot. And if you can keep this guy fit, he is a talented footballer. Todd Cantwell was poor in that Hibernian game. And again, I got absolutely pelters for saying that. I wasn't slagging him off. I was merely pointing out he didn't play well. Yes, he scored that fantastic goal, but other than that, he did absolutely nothing in that first half. Had he not scored the goal, I think it would have been a very different comments from some Rangers fans. I think some Rangers fans would be very short-sighted with their comments about Todd Cantwell on Wednesday night. So I would go with Tom Lawrence in the 10 role. I also think it gives Todd Cantwell a bit of a kick up the arse and hopefully gets him to sort himself out. I start with Fabio Silva up front. I thought Fabio was excellent against Hibernian. I thought he dragged players out of position. His movement was very good. He just offers something different. And it'd be great if you get a goal against St Mirren. And like I said, I wouldn't start Dessers. I do think he's better from the bench. And it is Dessers and not Dessers, as some idiots say. Dessers is his name. Well, guys, that's my team for tomorrow. Let me know what you have for today. Sorry. Let me know how you would line up against St Mirren today in the comments down below. Now, my prediction, my scoreline, I'm going to go 3-0 Rangers. That's my prediction for today's game. Again, let me know what your predictions are in the scoreline. Thank you so much again for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. Please subscribe to the channel and help the channel to keep on growing as we continue on our crusade to get to 5,000 subscribers as soon as is possible. And on the way out, I always ask two favors of you. Number one, smash the like. And number two, remember always, we are the people.
Seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright. And for the first